How things in Canada, dude?
Uh,
Cold?
Standard these days. It's mid-March, so winter doesn't go down without a fight up here. So we're right back to like 10 below overnight and occasional
Jeez.
snow. And
Oh,
yeah, it's
dude.
we get teased often, like late February, early March. We'll get like false spring that'll come through, and you get a big melt and some beautiful days, and everyone starts pulling out their spring stuff and the patio furniture. And then you get hit again. So
Oh.
I haven't taken the plow off yet, so I'm learning.
Is that where you're from? Are you originally from up there?
I'm originally from Ontario, actually, and then
Oh.
um, kind of like right after secondary school, I moved to Whistler for like a season. Like everyone
Mhm.
kind of takes that gap year, and I did it in Whistler. And 10 years later, I was still there, and
Wow.
so then, but at that by that point, like it had started getting like it started going crazy. Like it was never really reasonable to live there.
Yeah.
You did whatever you had to do just to play,
Yeah.
but then eventually, you're getting ahead, and we were working more than we were playing. So at that point, it became time to start looking elsewhere. But we had friends that up here. I'm like right up in the dead center of British Columbia, 6 hours north of Whistler. But down there, I met some friends that were from here, so I'd come up after they'd moved back. I came up to visit a couple times, and we found like you can do all the fun stuff
Hmm.
up here that you could do in Whistler, from the mountain biking, the snowboarding, the snowmobiling, the hiking, all the stuff is up here too. It's just not with 10,000 of your closest friends.
Right, right.
So
What's like the biggest city to you? What's the closest big city?
we're like just outside of a town called Quesnel, spelled with a Quusnel, and we're a little bit south of Prince George, which is like kind of the big town up here. But Quesnel's like 10,000 people population, and we're just kind of rural, just south of there,
Oh,
which
okay.
is it's just perfect. Like there's a Walmart, and there's a Canadian Tire, which is like the big box store for here. But
Oh.
it's small enough that you run into people you recognize all the time in town and stuff, and it's good. It's
Oh
just about
man.
right.
I need to get up there, honestly. Like, I'm actually going to Canada for the first time in my entire life in May. I've never been to Canada at all. We're going to Saskatchewan. What's the name of the place we're going to? Is it Prince Albert or something like that we're headed to? Yeah, Prince
You're
Albert.
going bear hunting.
We are going bear hunting. Yep.
That's awesome, Dad. I'll confess, I have been catching up recently on a bunch of your podcasts. So
Nice.
you've been like going off about bear hunting. Actually, just this morning, you posted that one with that Joe. Remind me his last name.
Condilis. It's a weird name. It's
Right,
Kondelis. Condilis.
right, yeah. So man, I was getting amped up for bear hunting again already, and
Yeah.
then listening to you guys go off this morning, I was like, oh man, this is not what I need right now.
That's what it's supposed to do right there, man. It's supposed to get you jacked to go hunting though. That's what the podcast is about.
It worked, and the problem is
Yes.
bear hunting's not till like late May, so
I
there's
know.
still like months to go.
Dude, I cannot wait. I'm so ready to go bear hunting. Like, oh, I hate to wish my life away, but I am honestly wishing my life away at this point. Like, I cannot wait for late May to go bear hunting.
Yeah, it's hard to not want to like the next bunch of weeks and months to like go by quick.
Yeah.
Um, But I mean, it was funny. I was like listening to some earlier podcasts where you were talking about wanting, like, getting ready to go and stuff. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to tell them this about bear hunting and this about bear hunting. And then you talk to Joe, and I'm like, I'm out. I'm all out of info. He covered it all.
Dude, I'm all ears, man. If you got info on bears, like that's a territory that I am just not familiar with. I can hunt deer and elk and those things all the time, but bear hunting is something that's just new, completely new to me. So I'm all ears. If you got tips and tricks, man, I'll listen.
I will also confess I am no expert. I only started hunting, like I'm a late onset hunter. I
Oh,
only got
really?
into it in the last 3 or 4 years.
Oh, wow.
But I'm really fortunate that I've got some good buddies that have a hunting camp a little northwest of here in a town called Fort St. James.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been bugging me since I met them that they're going to get me to come and kill something. And I finally went up there,
Nice.
and I got a bear in the spring, and it was cool, but it's different. Like you can't bait here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all spot and stock.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's so much opportunity. Like you really just kind of cruise old logging roads in the trucks, and just, you're just talking and laughing and telling jokes and stories the whole time. And you come around a corner and it's like, oh, fuck, there's a bear, and then it's fun. Like it's really fun like that. So,
oh man,
it's great because you don't have to get up like before dawn,
right?
And get out there in the cold. Like, no, bears are like lazy.
Yeah.
So you get up, you have some breakfast, you go for a morning drive, you come back for some lunch. And then the tough part is you're out until dark at night. And at that point it's dark, or it's not dark until like 9:30. So you're not getting back to camp until pretty late and having dinner and stuff. But
still, that's okay.
Yeah.
I can handle that as long. Yeah. I love that part about it. Cause like with elk and deer, you're up at the crack of dawn, man. You're up. Well, like during the archery hunts here in Utah, like I'm up at 3:30 a.m. getting out to where I need to be so I can be in my blind or be where I need to be where they're going to be at. Like it kills you. You burn the candle on both ends. Whereas I'm excited about bear hunting because you get to sleep in. They're out all day long. It's pretty chill.
They're casual. Yeah. It's good. And then, I mean, I guess the only thing is, since you're going to be over bait, you're going to be doing the whole sitting and waiting kind of thing, which isn't. I mean, I did a bunch of that for deer, which kills me. I'm not patient.
Me either.
So that's a tough one for me. I really like moving around, covering some ground, feeling like you're actually actively chasing something, even if it's not even there. The sitting and waiting kills me.
That's what like the Eastern, U.S. or Midwesterners with their whitetails, they sit in those tree stands all day long, and I don't know how they do it, man. Like I in fact, I was telling my buddy that I'm going with, like, man, I'm gonna have to like download some iPhone games and make sure I have a lot of podcasts on tap, like something to keep me busy. Otherwise, I'm gonna go stir crazy and climb down out of that tree or out of that ground blind.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it, man. They're built different. I guess they just grew up doing it, and that's how it happens out there. And I mean, I guess once you've had a couple successful sits where you're like, it's probably going to happen, something's coming, you just don't know how long it's going to be, then maybe that anticipation keeps you going. But
yeah, that's true. The only time, like I've sat in blinds, I'll sit in blinds during the archery hunt and whatnot, but I can't sit there all day. Like I'll sit there in the morning until 10 or 11, and by then I'm going so stir crazy, like I'm like, all right, I'll get out, and then like in the evening I'll have to spot and stalk or go hike the mountains or something just so I can do it. So I can do it for a little bit, a little while, but that get in there, an hour before sunrise and an hour after sunset, man, that's grueling, absolutely grueling.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if it works for them.
Yeah, it works. They seem to be pretty successful with it. They shoot some big old whitetails. So what do you guys have up there? So you have bears, but do you have mule deer? Do you have whitetail? What do you guys have up there for deer?
Oh yeah, we got mule deer, whitetail. Like there's deer in my yard all the time. We got whitetail and mule deer hanging around. We got elk up here, moose, of course.
Yeah.
And then if you go out a little bit deeper, you can get into the caribou and the sheep, and way up north you get to the goats first. But right around here, there's plenty to go chase.
Wow.
And even cougars. There's wolf tracks around too. Like I got lots of buddies that have hunts and stuff, and they keep busy in the wintertime.
Gotcha. Dude, that's like the mecca of hunting then. That like has everything that you would ever want to hunt up there.
Oh, that's why I kind of had to do it. I finally got talked into it. I was like, I always understood the draw and all the benefits. I was never anti-hunting. I was always like, get the best meat you can, and kill that animal the most ethical way it could hope, to meet its end, and all those things I understood. But I was always like, man, when it comes down to that, I wanted to be a vet when I was growing up. My mom talked me out of it because she told me, the vets also have to put down the animals when they're old or sick or whatever. And I was like, well, I'll never be able to do that. Right. So, getting down to getting down to that point was always, that was the tough part that I never thought I'd be able to yeah, really podcasts, listening to so many guys talking about podcasts, learning that hunters aren't, typical, just like stereotypical beer swigging,
beer drinking,
like
fat guy that just drives around in a truck. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's like, they're actually, hunters are some of the best people you're ever going to meet. And then, the conservation side of it all, and understanding that, we do need to be controlling these populations, because we have been for, since the beginning of time. So yeah, all that coming together for me was helpful. And then when it came down to it, at least it was, I think so. I got him with my bow.
Awesome.
And I think that probably helped, because there's been so much practice with my bow that, like, all that other noise wasn't distracting me about what was going on. I was focusing on making the right shot, like, because you're just so in that archery. Like, that's really why I got into archery, was for like the meditative kind of practice of it. Like, I really like that about it. And so when you get into that zone, and you're just like going through your sequence and whatever, then that just kind of like shut out all that other stuff. Which I think probably helped. If it was a rifle and I was like looking down a scope, like zoomed in close to this guy, and it would have been a lot more real, and it's like pulling the trigger, but maybe I just need to shoot my rifle more.
Yeah, because you kind of get in that same mode. I mean, the good thing, or I guess good and bad, like with a bow, you're so close. You're right there in their kitchen, and so it can be a little bit overwhelming from that standpoint. But then you're also right with a rifle. It also a little bit different, because you're looking through that scope and you're seeing them that close, and you don't have as many checks to go through in your mind. Like archery, you're checking so many things, anchor point, and everything that you're going through to make that a perfect shot. Whereas guns, you don't really have that as much. But yeah, I've taught so many people how to hunt, or introduced so many people to hunting, and that's like their biggest thing, is like actually killing the animal. They love all the things up to that point, but then they're like, can I really do that? But you've experienced it now. It's once you do it, then you're like, okay, this is conservation. This is feeding my family. This is this is the cycle of life. This is the right thing to be doing, and it is a good thing to be doing. Not saying it's not taking it lightly. It's a difficult thing. It's hard to take a life and and be in that moment.
Oh, it's heavy. Yeah,
it is.
It's real.
Yeah,
it's a heavy thing.
But it really is a good thing, and I think it teaches you as a human being to respect life a lot more than people that have never done that before. It gives you a different viewpoint of life than people that haven't done that.
It's an experience that you can't get otherwise. Yeah, like you're saying, and and just being able to put that food on the table for my family is huge. And I'm still waiting on my taxidermist because I got him to do the rug and the skull, so I can't wait for that. But yeah, if you never came up, like if you never grew up with it, and you've never been around, like if all your meat came on a styrofoam tray wrapped in cellophane from the store and all that, like you've never seen a dead animal, like other than a squirrel on the side of the road, and even then people are squeamish about that stuff. So if it's really just being just kind of like we're not brought up in it anymore, I guess, or most of us aren't anyways. Like,
it's true. So it's the tricky way. It's the way the world is now, man. Like it used to, I think, well, obviously back in the day, that's what they did. That's how they fed their families, is they actually had to go out there and get the meat. And yeah, we're so detached from that nowadays, because we can go to the Walmarts or whatever and buy a slab of meat, and you don't even have to think about it. You don't even think about where it came from. You just think about, oh, it tastes good. And you know what? For some people, that's fine. That's great for them, and that's what they handle. But man, like I said, it's a good learning lesson for individuals, for human beings. I think it gives you definitely a more respect for your own life, as well as the lives of the animals that are around you. Personally, I respect those animals. People can't have a hard time understanding that how do you respect them, but you kill them? Well, you don't know it until you've done it. But once you've done it, then you're like, okay, that really truly makes sense. And there's a reverence for it, a true appreciation for it.
Yeah. I'm reminded of even what Joe said earlier that I listened to earlier today, but he said, yeah, bears are my favorite animal.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that he hunts the most. And
Mhm.
I was just like, oh, there it is. Yep.
Yep.
That's going to get you that's your question kickoff point right there. Like, what do you mean can it be favorite? And yeah, you just, unless somebody knows somebody that's a hunter that's willing to sit down and explain to them, or if you're, you go out and seek that information from like podcasts like this one to go and actually find out, then you're just, you're stuck with what you've been told.
Yep.
From in your little echo chamber. And
yeah, that means a lot to me, what you said about that you've listened to podcasts and that's what's changed your mind or your mindset on this. Like, that makes me feel like we're doing a good thing with these podcasts. Sometimes I do these and I wonder, like, am I really making an impact on people's lives? And it's great to know that, and there's a lot of us hunting podcasts out there, really, really good ones. But it's nice to know that it is making an impact on some people. And I'm glad that it's made an impact on you, because I'll bet you're finding a lot more fun in your life being able to go and do some of this stuff.
Oh man, I love being out there. I can't wait to go back. I was even thinking about, like, it's a gambling addiction.
It is
really what it is. Like, I hit some, I had some just crappy mornings in the fall, like just going out, sitting, like waiting for deer and just getting frustrated because I don't know what I'm doing really. And so, I saw this awesome deer here yesterday. He should be here tomorrow. He's there. Why isn't this deer?
Yep.
Where did he go? There's tracks everywhere. Where the hell are they?
Yep.
But and so I just, I'm driving back from that morning, just frustrated and like, this is stupid. Why am I even doing this? But I'm going back out again that afternoon because it's just like the next pull on the lever could be the jackpot, and you don't know unless you go. And it's like, it's just like my playing poker with her is hilarious because she can't fold. She has to see the next card. You know what I mean? Because it might be that like case out that she needs.
Yes.
It's just like that. Like, I can't not go because it might just be the one day that he walks right past where I'm standing. It's just, except instead of like gambling with a quarter, you're gambling with like a tank of gas in your afternoon.
Yeah, it's not cheap. It's definitely not cheap gambling. It's probably the most expensive gambling that you'll ever do. But freak, if it's not a whole lot of fun, dude. That's funny that you say it that way. I don't know that I've ever heard it said that way, but dude, that is spot on. Like, that's exactly what it is. It is like a gambling addiction, and you just can't get away from it. It's a little bit healthier. I'm going to say it's a healthier addiction than gambling, but it's very similar.
Oh, there's way worse stuff to be addicted to, for sure. Unless you're like me and you're like just like a gear junkie and you have to just, man, the more money I spend on hunting, the better I'm going to be at it, right?
That's how it goes, man, right? The more money you spend, the better hunter you are. I thought that's how it was.
I'm going to be getting a lot better this year if I want to be. But no, speaking of podcasts, I wanted to say, like you say, there's a lot of hunting podcasts. I mean, everybody and their brother has a hunting podcast these days.
Yeah.
And I mean, everyone's trying really hard to understand, but I don't know what it is about yours. If it's like your just energy and enthusiasm for it, or if it's the guest you have on, or probably just, a combination of both, but it's something about it works so well. And it's it's so, I don't know. It's so, I just get sucked into them. I keep listening. Like, a lot of them, I just get halfway through and I'm like, oh, I can't keep listening to this. And your quality is really good. Like, the audio quality, that's a big deal too. But something about it, like one of them I was listening to, and I can't even remember what it was about, but it was some topic that I have almost no interest. Oh, it was the trap shooting guy. He was doing like the sports shooting.
Yeah.
I have no interest in that, but I listened to the whole thing. You know what I mean? So something you're doing it right. So and I'm really glad and fortunate and thankful that you are having me on
Mike, dude,
the podcast. So thank you very much. This is cool.
Yeah, that means so much to me. I can't tell you how much that means to me to hear you say that. Because like I said, sometimes I do this, and I've been doing this for so long, and I don't know, it is what it is. But sometimes I wonder like what, what is the consumer, how's the consumer looking at it? So I appreciate that very much. I work very hard on it. I love this. You know what's funny about it, and where you've listened to my other podcast, you've probably heard me say this 1,000 times, but I just like meeting cool people. I like talking to cool people and just having a conversation and learning, and that's what I enjoy about this. And so, and I feel like if I'm that way, I feel like everybody else is going to be that way. So if we're just having a conversation, having fun, like, in fact, you made a comment on my Graxaw one about, like just a couple of guys sitting around a fire drinking a beer, like that's kind of what I want this to be, and who doesn't want to be there? Who doesn't want to be sitting around a fire with some cool guys and just talking about hunting and knives and all sorts of cool stuff. So, but anyways, Mike, I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me, and that's what keeps me going right there. So thank you.
Yeah, just your sincere interest in whoever you're talking to just comes across really well. You do it naturally, so keep doing that. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what your numbers are like, but I would not even look at those. Just keep doing it for the right reasons, for the reasons you're doing it and the reasons you started doing it. And so many of them come across as like, this guy just saw, he sees like Ranella and Gritty and stuff, and look at all the gear they're getting. I'm going to start a podcast and get all this free stuff. And yeah, it's clear the reasons you're doing it. So
yeah,
I'm stoked to listen to more. Can't wait to see who else you got coming up.
I got some good ones coming up too. I've got some really, really fun podcasts. I mean, you alone. I mean, I've been stoked about doing this podcast with you, dude. Ever since you got, into 360 Sportsman with Taylor, I've really been looking forward to talking to you. And dude, just because I have a lot of questions about knives in general, because I feel like the landscape of knives has changed in the hunting industry and has kind of gone crazy. And I've been wanting to ask somebody questions for a long time. And so when I saw that you were on 360 Sportsman and doing your masterclass, I'm like, oh man, I gotta chat with him and ask him a bunch of this stuff. How did you get hooked up with Taylor? How did you guys connect?
Well, yeah, thanks for your interest in me knives and stuff. But I think I just saw just a random thing popped up. You know what it probably was it it's the footage of that cat, of that mountain lion ripped down that drainage
Oh yeah,
in front of Adeline,
yeah.
And of course that just it went just viral, really. That, I mean, it was so sick. And so and I think he was probably 360 was probably collabed on that or something, and I just kind of followed the breadcrumbs back and saw what he was doing and sort of looked into it. I've had a couple of opportunities to work with some people who were sort of doing similar things, but I got just such a like a timeshare-y sort of creepy vibe from them. Like, it was real kind of scammy, and but looking into his, so when I finally sent him a message, I was just like, hey man, I noticed you're doing these cool master classes and there's no knife making class. That's kind of big. And then he came back and sounded like kind of pumped, and I was like, ooh, this might turn into something. But I kind of had my guard up going into it until I got on just to chat with him, and we did like a Zoom call or something. And then it was like, no, this dude's pretty legit. Yeah. He just wants to do cool stuff. And then I had a look at the people that were involved already, and it's still pretty fresh. Like, they only really launched this year, but they've already got like 11 or 12 killer classes, and he's given me a little bit of a teaser into some of them that are coming up. And it's like, man, this could really be something. So then all of a sudden I was like, oh crap, I gotta live up to this that they're doing. So I better do a good job with this thing. But I've got my buddy actually coming up from, he lives down in New Mexico now, but 7 years ago, he cold called me. I never met him. He just emailed me and said, hey man, I'm trying to be a videographer, and I want to go and just like travel around and shoot cool stuff that I'm into, like anything related to hunting and all this sort of stuff, but no one's going to pay me, so I'm just doing it on my own dime right now. Can I come sleep on your couch and videotape you making knives? Wow. And so I was like, yeah, of course, come on.
Yeah.
So this Matt Williams flew up to Quesnel and hung out here for a few days. I made 3 of these mini documentaries, and they're all on his YouTube, and I got them linked on my webpage. And I was really proud of him. Like, he did a great job. You can tell his passion is in this videography stuff and making making cool documentaries and just telling stories. And he's a really good interviewer and everything too. And then while he was here, I actually hooked him up with my buddy Sean, who was trapping at the time. It was in the winter, so we went out on his trap line with him, and they got a cat, and it was super cool. So he did a whole little documentary on that. Wow. And since then, he's actually been, pursuing this stuff even further, and his video stuff now is like light years even beyond that. So he's going to be the guy coming up and filming with me. So I'm pumped, like even hang out with him again and shoot some more stuff in my shop. And I'm really excited to see what he can do with a camera now. So it's going to be good. The quality is going to be there. I just hope the content can live up to it.
Dude, I think it will. I think it's going to be intriguing because it's something that people are I don't know. There's something about knives that are super intriguing for people. It just kind of sucks people in, almost like a drug, it's just because there's so many different styles and kinds. And there's just something I think primitive about them as well, that like, it's in our nature, it's in our core to be like, I need that, I need that to survive. I need that, one, because it's cool, but then also to survive. And so I think that people are going to flock to it, man. I think having going through 360, I think is going to be awesome, because then you're going to be able to just branch out to so many other places. Like you said, there's a ton of courses on 360. So a lot of people are coming to it from whether you're a houndsman or whether you're a snowmobiler or, whatever the case may be. But then while they're there, then they're like, well, there's this knife masterclass as well. I want to learn how to make knives, and they, they can come into it. So I think that's going to be the cool thing about it, is they're just going to be able to come from a bunch of different areas. And is Taylor going to come up there and do any video in it all, or is this other guy going to do it all?
I feel like Matt's going to do most of it. It seems like this thing's like firing off pretty heavy, and Taylor's schedule's getting real filled up with filming. I think around the time that he was going to come up, he had something in Alaska he was going up to film as well. I can't remember what that was. Some super sick hunt that he's going up to film with somebody to do some masterclass up there. So we were going to try and tie it in, but it sounded like the scheduling was going to be pretty tight. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get to meet him on this one, but we'll see. But yeah, it's just there's a lot to. I mean, I'm going to try and make it not. It's going to be about how to make a knife, but I'm also going to try and fill it up as well with just a lot of good info on knives, different styles of knives, what to look for and what to avoid when you're hunting or when you're shopping for, not just a hunting knife, but also even like kitchen knives and stuff like that. There's a lot to dive deep into, and so yeah, there's a lot of info that's going to be in there that it's kind of daunting looking over. Like I've got a layout of my like curriculum, and I'm just like, I'm gonna have to break it into pieces just to wrap my brain around it all, because there's so much in there that I can share. And so that's why it's really helpful that we've got like the 360 cool way he's got it set up, because he's got that like the pre-launch survey that everyone can go and do right now. And it's just a couple of quick questions, and I've had a whole bunch of people doing that. That's given me a really good idea of kind of where people are at with their skill or their knowledge in knives in general, and then also like exactly what they want to see in the course, which is huge. And then of course, tied that, you also get a heads up when it drops, and you get even a discount when it releases too, which is kind of nice just for your trouble. But so that's been really cool. I've had lots of good feedback already coming out from that. Nice. And I'm thinking I might even there's some really great ideas in there, and I might even take a bunch of them and just do like little like teaser lessons. Yeah, like just kind of throw out like, this is so and so is asking about this, a couple of quick things about it, and I'm going to go way deeper in the actual masterclass and just kind of like, just sort of touch on this stuff, just at least to let people know, we're reading those, that's getting through. And this course is all about what, the student, I guess, wants to learn. So, tell me what you want it to be.
That's awesome. And I'm really going to try and bust my butt on this podcast. I had a podcast scheduled for next Friday, but I'm going to try and get this podcast out for next Friday for that reason, so that, people can kind of get out there a little bit more, so people can reach out to you and say, hey, this is what we'd like to see in the masterclass, if at all possible. Because like I said, I think there's a lot of questions around just knives and knife making, and there's some big names and whatnot that have come out. So it's just made everybody curious about it. So walk me through a little bit. Like, so you said that this course is going to be showing you how to make a knife. Like, so are you going to start from basically, here's a piece of metal and a handle of whatever the kind is, and you're going to make it from start to finish? Or is it going to be, I guess, what is that going to look like? How are you going to portray that or show that?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I say, I'm just building it right now, but for sure, the goal is to take someone who's, can, at least familiar around tools, and
Yeah.
can take a piece of steel and a block of wood and walk through it and end up with a knife at the end of it. I'm trying to figure out right now, like, how advanced that needs to be, because I know there's going to be some people watching it, maybe all
Yeah.
have already made some knives, and there's some questions that I've been getting that sound pretty proficient, and they want like little tips and on how to just kind of tweak their current existing skill, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of level up. So I'm going to mix in some of that. I'm trying to figure out if I should maybe do a beginner to intermediate and then an advanced course as well, if it's worth breaking it up like that. But I'm also thinking I'm going to try and put together a kit that will come, like, maybe first subscribers will get this kit included, and I'll ship it out to you, but it'll have a piece of steel, it'll have a chunk of hand material, it'll have the pins, a couple of templates in there that you could use to make your first. And so it'll just be kind of like the build your first knife kit that'll come with it. And then you could follow along the course with those materials already. So,
Dude,
you just have to supply some tools, I guess.
that would be sweet for guys like me that, like, I've never built a knife. I have no idea where to even begin building a knife. So I love your idea of doing like a beginner and intermediate. So for us that have no idea like to where to even start, I think that would be great. But then I've got a buddy that, he's kind of made knives in the past. I think he's purchased little kits and stuff and makes them. But anyways, he may have a little bit more knowledge than I have. And so maybe more of the, higher level, deeper dive stuff, he might be more, apt to buying that one or purchase, going into that class. So, man, I think if you could do that, that would be huge. I know that's a lot of time and a lot of it, investment to do that, but man, that would be cool.
Yeah, my biggest problem is I end up rambling too much. Like, there's so much in there that I want to get out. So trying to like just pare that all down to kind of what you need to hear really is going to be the tough part for me. But I think I'll figure out, I guess, once I have the course laid out and kind of estimating on time, like if this thing turns into, like a 20-hour course, and that might be worth breaking it up into two. But if I can pack it into one, then because of the way that it's going to be broke up into just individual short videos, it'll be real easy to, like, if there's a video on Damascus and somebody like yourself is like, man, I just want to make it, and you skip that one and carry on. Or somebody who's good at it and there's a video just on, I don't know, drilling holes or whatever it is, they could be, I'm good on that. I can, carry on to the higher end stuff. So it's going to be really well laid out like that, which is, hats off to Taylor for the way that he's got this whole thing set up. It's very well done.
Yeah, I'm so stoked to see this class because I don't know. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be very entertaining for one. And like you said, you've got a lot of knowledge that you're going to be able to apply to this. And you call it rambling, but I think that for guys like me, it's going to be very beneficial because it's like learning a different language. You're speaking something that I don't know. Well, kind of like when you started the hunting podcast, I'm sure you were just a sponge and learning everything that those guys were talking about, and it's just all new to you. Whereas, and your masterclass, your knife masterclass, is going to be like that for me, where I don't know about it, and so what you call rambling, I'm probably going to just be loving every second of it and enjoying it. So I'm curious though, man. Like, what got you into knives? Have you been doing this for a long time? Like, tell me your background on this. How long you been doing this, and what got you into it?
Yeah, I've been doing it about a little over 10 years now, I guess. And it's been full time for about 7 of those. Right when we moved up here out of Whistler, we moved here in 2013 is when I made my first knife. And it was just like one of those, watched a YouTube video, to see, because a buddy of mine had mentioned that he had a knife and he wanted to put a new handle on it, and I never even thought about that. But I'd always been into doing stuff with hands, and like you mentioned before, like I love just the utility of a knife. Like they're just a ubiquitous thing, and it's just a feeling, like you're saying, it's built into us. It's a primeval, it's, you know, man's oldest tool, right?
Yeah.
So just having that knife in your hand is just like, hey, now more capable. You know what I mean? I've got this thing with me. So I've always loved that part about them. And so I just looked at a video how to put a handle on a knife, and of course a couple others popped up, how to make one from start to. And back then, I mean, there was like maybe 2 or 3 watchable YouTube videos on this thing. Like, it was terrible, but I gleaned whatever I could from it. It looked doable, so I made one out of, you know, whatever tools I happen to have in my little shed. And then once I realized that any shape that I could actually draw on paper, I could turn into a real tangible thing in my hand. Then it was like, then it became a problem. Like, I had a booklet of all these crazy sketches, and I was just making all this weird stuff I'd never seen before, and most of them were horrible. But once in a while, you know, I'd make one that actually made sense and it was cool, and I'd give it to a buddy and he'd use it. And then after a while, I had people asking me to make them. You know, Christmas would come around and be like, "Oh, Mike, I want to get my wife one of your cool kitchen knives or whatever." So I started getting some orders, and I was just selling them for $50 a piece, just to you know, talk my wife into letting me be out in the shed for longer, just to make it worth it. And but then eventually, it just kind of kept going. And I was timber framing at the time. I'd learned a bit of construction and wanted to get into timber framing, so I was doing that. But I had to commute an hour and 15 minutes each way to go to work, and we had an infant at the time. And so, you know, he didn't even recognize me. Like, I'd be gone in the morning before he woke up. By the time I got home, he was in bed, and my wife was a single parent pretty much. So then I actually hurt my back doing that, like every timber framer does. And I had a month off paid on like employment insurance. And at the end of that month, I happened to have this trade show coming up, my first trade show. Like, the timing was weird. And so I just spent the month making knives for the trade show. And then by the end of the month, I realized I added them all up and thought, if I could sell all these, I would make more money this month than I would have made timber framing. And, you know, I can make my own hours, be home, raise my kid, and not drive all that way, you know, take into account all the gas money and the time and all this. And so, you know, after a lot of sleepless nights, I made and a lot of support from my wife, because I was the sole earner at the time too. She was just, you know, raising our son. And so, it ended up being, it came down to I would have rather tried and failed than wish that I had, you know, and because I was so scared of being the idiot who bankrupt his young family chasing some stupid hobby that he did in a dusty shed, right? But so there was some pressure, but, you know, eventually I went for it. And I defined, if you don't have a plan B, then you make plan A work.
That's exactly
it.
And
It's been a roller coaster, a lot of ups and downs, and you know, just keep going, keep pivoting, keep trying to be creative, come up with new stuff all the time, and do as many cool podcasts as you can, get the word out. And it's been a lot of fun so far, and I'm hoping that it keeps being fun for a long time.
Man, that is so cool. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff that you said there that I think is so helpful, like having that kind of background and knowledge. Going back to the masterclass, I think that's awesome, because like you've been in it, you've learned yourself, which I think honestly is the best way to learn, is to really just ingrain yourself in it and learn and grow and whatnot. So being able to take all that knowledge, I mean, how much of a gift that is to the people that are going to take that masterclass and be like, okay, I can take all that knowledge and give it to you all in, you know, a short masterclass. I mean, that truly is amazing. And then it's just,
oh man, I have made every mistake and learned every lesson the hard way. Don't worry about that. I'm good. That should be my goal, is to try and avoid you guys making all these mistakes. I have literally been like crouched in the fetal position with tears coming down my face from snapping a knife that was like the coolest thing I had made at the time. And I was trying to do this one last thing, and I knew I shouldn't do it, but I did it anyway. And the thing broke, and it's just I've made all those mistakes. So I'm here to teach you how to learn the easy way.
Well, that flattens that curve, right? That learning curve that we have. If you let somebody else make all the mistakes, and then you learn from those mistakes so that you don't make them. I mean, I think it's good to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes, but yeah, if we can learn from the mistakes you made and not do that, then that's what a gift. Like I said, that's the only word I can think of. That's a gift to people, that to be able to put that out there so that they can learn from that and grow from that. And I mean, honestly, man, I've been super impressed with what you've been able to do. I don't know how you do it, honestly. Like your mind works very different than mine, as far as like, you're very artistic. I don't know if that's how you consider yourself, but some of the stuff that you come up with your knives, dude, it's unreal, man.
Oh, thanks, dude. People have tried calling like knife makers artists before, and I'm always get kind of like, the thing, it's a tool. Like I get to use some really cool handle material, and I feel like I do have a decent eye for balance and lines and not making it look like way out of symmetry, stuff like that. I feel like I can make it aesthetically pleasing to at least look at, but it still has to be functional. But I mean, I don't know about artists. Like, there's guys that call their shop a studio. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, I don't know
making knives here.
It's the tool shop, right? The workshop.
Totally. Yeah, it's dirty. It's no studio.
I don't know. They're beautiful though, dude. And again, kind of going back to that, like, there's something ingrained in us about knives. Like, when you look at it, you just kind of fall in love with it. You know, like it truly is like a relationship. I know that sounds sick. I guess you probably understand it more than anybody, but like, you look at that knife and it's like, yeah, I got a relationship with it. Like, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I mean, just can't help but falling in love with some of them. And it's funny, like, you look at, like, I was looking through a bunch of yours the other day, yesterday, and like, there's some of them like, okay, they're cool looking, you know, but there's some of them like, dude, that is like the most beautiful knife that I've ever seen, and I want to put that in my hand, you know. Like, it's funny how that works. And I'm sure somebody will look at the ones that I'm like, they're okay, and they're probably thinking like, this is the most beautiful knife in the world. So it's kind of cool how that works.
It's so personal, and I've come to learn that my taste is like the opposite of most people's. Like, most of the time, like, I'll make a knife with like a handle material combination, and I'm like, ooh, that kind of, I don't like that at all. It'll sell like instantly.
Yeah.
And other ones that I'm like, this is the sickest thing. No one buying this, but I have come to learn that my taste is not the norm. But no, it is such a personal thing, and which is why, like, I'll get wives all the time that are like, what's my husband gonna like? Like, what should I get him? And I'm like, it's like asking me what his favorite color is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, and you only learn that when you go and do these shows and you see a couple thousand people come by, and every knife on the table gets touched, and they're all very different. Because, yeah, like you say, like, one man's is another guy's that I have to put my hand on that. So that's really my goal, is just to make, like you say, I want that thing in my hand. My goal is, function over fashion. The thing has to work properly first and foremost. But then if I can make you excited to pick that thing up and use it, like, if that's the one that you grab for out of your pack, like, we've all got dozens and dozens of knives, I'm sure.
Yep.
But if that's the one that you're stoked to use, then I memean, that's saying something. At least I'm doing something right.
Well, that's the cool thing about knives, and you're right. There are so many knives out there, but there's some of them that are just like, I'll use it. And I mean, I don't mean to bash anybody, but there's a lot of those, you know, high production, whatever, like a Outdoor Edge or something like that, you know, knife out there that it's a pocket knife. It is what it is. Whereas, and there is a purpose for that, don't get me wrong, but there's something different about a custom knife. And like you said, it's something that just, like, you want to use it. Like, when I kill an animal, there's a knife that I want to use on that animal. As weird as that sounds, but like, I think about that, you know, I truly think about, like, okay, when I harvest this elk, I want to use this knife on that elk. And now I keep looking at all your knives, and I want to keep using those. I want to get those knives and use them on my next elk. So now you've given me a sickness now. Thank you for that. But you know, it's a cool thing, though.
I think that, I think you're touching on something that I think is is like it ingrained in us as well. Like just knowing that somebody put the time and their effort and they did the best that they could on building that day.
Yeah.
It's like, that's why my slogan is making it like they used to, because you think like something falls apart and you first thing you think is, they don't make them like they used to. Well, how did they used to make things, right?
Yep.
And I just think back to these guys back when all they had to them was their name, their reputation, and it meant something. You know, it was unfortunately it's been a couple generations really since that's been popular, but we've gone through a couple of throwaway generations where, you know, the razor gets dull in the shower, you toss it out and grab a new one kind of thing. And we don't have those, that stuff that got lost for a little while. And people, there's no more pride in what somebody did. And when with their name was on it, you knew that if someone was going to put their name on it, then that was the best that they could do. And but I think it's swinging back. I think that pendulum's coming back, just like, you know, the reverence for animals and hunting and all that sort of stuff, that self-sufficiency, that's all starting to swing back, you know, with handmade boots and furniture and all that sort of thing. Like just looking at something or strapping those boots on and knowing that another human who loved what he does built those with his hands is it's an intangible quality to things. But I think that I think the appreciation for that kind of stuff is coming back. And you know, luckily me, because I make handmade knives.
I'm glad it is too, though. I mean, like you look at like Native Americans and whatnot, like if they gave a knife to somebody, like that was a big deal, you know, like if like a son getting married to, or a guy getting married to their daughter, you know, part of the thing they did was give that son, or new son-in-law, a knife, or, you know, it was something very personal, very intimate, you know. And I think I agree with you. I think we're kind of getting back to that like we don't want just something cheap that we just use and throw away. We want it to mean something to us, especially in things like this, that, you know, hunting is my passion. It's my life outside of God and my family. You know, hunting is just right there. It's what I absolutely love. And so everything involved with hunting, I want it to be like this. I want, you know, whether it's my boots, my knives, whatever the case may be, my bow, you know, I want it to be something that is very meaningful to me and a high quality, you know, something that's actually going to be useful. Because I think there's, you know, there's a lot of knives out there, there's a lot of guns out there, whatever, that they're just not useful. They look pretty, but, you know, they're not really very useful. But it's nice to be able to have something that does look very nice, but is also very useful as well. And I, you know, looking at your knives, I'm pretty sure they work.
Yeah, I mean, like you're saying, there's those options that they have their place. It's a beater. You're not scared to use it in the woods or whatever. You throw it in your truck and it bounces around the back of your truck and it's not a big deal. But these things, like, they start to grow a memory. You know, you throw your pack on and you think of that time you packed that elk quarter out 3 miles, and why the hell did we shoot that so deep in the bush? Or you know, when you grab that knife, you start, you know, it reminds you of all those great times. And it's funny because most of the memories that I find that stick around are the good ones. It's hard. So when you pick up that thing, you think back to those things with the fondest of memories, and then it's, you know, that cheap Walmart knife doesn't seem to absorb that sort of thing.
No, the only thing I can relate to that is I have a knife that my dad made me, or had made for me, and it's an antler. And man, I've used that, the handle is an antler, and I've used that on so many things. And yeah, it's special, you know, like the memories that come back when I use that knife, or even just look at it, you know, it's sitting right over there, you know, just looking at it, it brings back all those memories, and it's special to me. And that's what's so cool about this. So man,
it's got life in it. You know what I mean? You surround yourself in your room with things that have life in them. It's not like you're just going and buying generic artwork from IKEA,
right,
and decorating your house with these, you know, pictures of people you don't even know, right? Like same in our house, all of our artwork is from people that we know, that, you know, it's special. Everything means something to you. When we put up our Christmas tree, we don't have any just generic balls. It's all special ornaments and stuff, right? It's all things that have meaning.
Yeah.
And so same with this, like I'm sure in that room, you look around, everything that's around there, if you surround yourself with stuff like that, I think it just enriches your life in general. So
yeah,
I think
and
you're onto something,
dude. And isn't it cool that you build something like that? Like, that's crazy to me that you build something that does that for people. Like, that's gotta feel good, man.
It's really cool when, you know what, the best is a return customer, for one thing.
Yeah.
Just that makes you feel like you're doing something right. But when a father comes back to you to get a knife for his son or his daughter, or for his hunting buddy, or for somebody that's, you know, like as a wedding gift or whatever, that's special, I think, to me, because they're willing to put that in the hands of somebody that they care about. So yeah, that's super cool. It's that sentiment you're talking about is definitely not lost on me when I'm sending these things out. It's pretty cool. And then, yeah, when you hear back from them, or when people are sending me photos of their knives getting used, either, you know, cutting up a brisket or actually breaking an animal or whatever, when I get to see them actually getting used, and I get messages where people are stoked, like, oh dude, I finally got to use this on my first year or whatever. And I'm like, what? It's super cool to be have some part of me out there being a part of that for people. Yeah, it's definitely that makes the long hours hand sanding worth it.
Well, you got your knives in some pretty cool hands. I've heard that a lot of, you know, pretty cool people have purchased knives from you. Who do you have some of your favorites? If you want to name drop, you have some cool ones that you sold them to?
Oh, for sure. I'm lucky enough to get a hold of Andrew Huberman. He bought one. He's bought a couple for some friends, and he bought one for his buddy Lex Friedman. He gave him this great big cleaver on his podcast. They did a podcast for his birthday, and he gave him the cleaver on air, which was really cool. Andrew's freaking super good, dude.
Dude, he's so cool.
And Cliff Gray, I've been working with him. He's been fantastic. Ryan Lamp most recently. I've been doing these like signature models where these guys design their signature knife, like their perfect knife, and then make them a bunch, and they can sell them to their fans and stuff. And so then their fans get like this usable, awesome tool that's designed by one of their favorite hunters to go out and use and collect. And so that's kind of fun. That's kind of everybody wins on that one. That's pretty fun. And then yeah, the big ones, of course, Joe Rogan, who's got a few of them. And,
Don Jr.
Don Jr. Yeah, I sent him one. That one's never seen the light of day, but I think he's got some connections with a couple other companies through that Field Ethos. I don't know if you follow those guys, but they're hilarious. They're a good follow on Instagram. But they've got some agreement. But I sent him a really cool one with like a red, white, and blue handle on it, and I was really hoping that one was going to show up on his hip like an inauguration day or something.
Oh, that'd have been so cool. That'd have been so sweet.
Just whips it out during his speech or whatever. That would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, but it's crazy, dude. You've gotten some knives in a lot of, like, when I started looking at, you know, your stuff and where it was at, I'm like, man, you got them in some pretty popular hands. I mean, which says a lot, dude. I mean, that says like, okay, yeah, this is like a really good knife. Andrew was the one I was kind of thinking of when I brought this up, because I saw that where he had given it as a gift, and he talks about it, just how amazing the knives are and whatnot. So, and he's such a cool dude. I mean, I one of these days I'd love to have him on my podcast. I don't know if I'll be able to do it, but such a real genuine cool dude. And just to see you having an involvement there and being part of that, I think is really cool.
That dude called me one time and to talk about that. To talk about the knife for Lex, and we worked that out real quick. But then he stayed on the phone with me for like an hour.
Wow.
We just talked about like brain stuff. I was like, I've finally been diagnosed and probably have some ADHD. I had all these just weird symptoms of that, like just focusing and whatever, and typical ADHD stuff. And so we talked about that for like a long time, and he was really quite generous with his time, and just the coolest dude, like just real laid back. And I can't believe that. And we would chat about like skateboarding. He used to be a skateboarder way back in the day, like down in growing up in Southern California
Uh-huh.
and with like the original dudes, like the generation just after the Bones Brigade
Oh yeah.
was like buddies that he hung out with. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
we would chat about that, and just like, yeah, he's got all that like under that plain black long sleeve button he wears. There's way more to that guy that he doesn't let on, and so
Well,
yeah, he's awesome. So just yeah, that's super cool. I mean, social media used to work like that,
right.
like 5-6 years ago. Those people were accessible. Like when
Mm-hmm.
Twitter first came out, could actually people those unattainable or unreachable people would actually read stuff that you would write, and you
Right.
used to be able to actually connect with guys. And it's just, yeah, social media is a whole rabbit hole we maybe shouldn't go down right now, but because we'll just be preaching to the fire everybody knows. But
It's a beast.
yeah, it used to be really powerful. It used to be
Yeah.
great. You could hook up with these guys once in a while. And
It
and
made
I'm very fortunate through some guide outfitter friends of mine, Mike Hawkridge. He runs Alpha Dog Outdoors with our friend Sean Murray,
uh-huh.
and Joe came up and actually hunted with him. I don't know if you ever saw the photo of Joe with the huge moose quarter on his shoulder.
Oh
He was on
yeah.
the cover of Peterson's
Oh
like
yeah.
forever.
I've seen that several
And
times.
so that was at Mike's ranch. And
Oh,
so
okay.
that's how the Rogan thing worked out. Like he got me a bit of a knife and he sent it to him as a gift. And so that's how that started off. So it's, yeah, networking, man. The hunting community is one really cool, dysfunctional family.
But the cool thing about it though, and like I said about this podcast, is like every single person I talk to is just a cool dude, you know, like they're genuine, real people. Like, I mean, like even you, like I was a little bit nervous, like to reach out to you. I'm glad that we had the connection between 360 Sportsmen, but you know, I'm like, you're a pretty big name, you know, and just to like, oh, how's this going to look? But dude, you're a genuine, cool dude. And like pretty much everybody I've talked to in the hunting industry is that way. Like we're bros. We could hang out, yeah, whether it's at a skate park or around the fire, you know, it doesn't really matter. It's really cool people and really genuine people that want to help each other out and enjoy life. You know, that's really what it's about.
Think it, and I appreciate that he's saying that, but I think that just the hunting and outdoors stuff and having to be in shape and having to do, like, you can't just buy a bow and be an archer. You know, it takes there's so much work to it that you can't fake and you can't buy, that I think that weeds out a lot of the people that you would deem to be not cool dudes.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
because yeah, it's and just the lifestyle, being out in the woods. You know, maybe you're going for some overnights and you haven't showered in a week, and you know, like that sort of lifestyle is not for everybody, and it's just a very it's just a very low BS kind of environment.
It
I
is.
find there's no room for it.
Well, and I think it forges friendships that don't forge any way else. You know, like I've got buddies that I had in high school, and you know, we chased girls and we, you know, just did stupid stuff together, and you know, we're buddies. But the guys that I've shared the mountain with, like that we've actually just embraced the suck and had just the most miserable time on the mountain. And those are the ones that you remember. But it's those guys that like are like my best friends and that I trust my life with at this point, you know? So yeah, to your point, I think that this environment kind of weeds out the people that aren't like that. And that way, you know that all the guys that you're going to meet and guys and gals that you're going to meet in this world are going to be those people that, yeah, you could trust your life with. Like they're real people that really care about you and really are going to like do whatever that takes to help you out and help you succeed and whatnot. So it's a different environment, a different, you know, group of people, but it makes for a lot of fun, a lot of really good conversations.
Oh yeah, like you can't, because you can't fake it out. You can't fool nature.
No.
Like it's like the mountain does not care
That's
what
right.
you what like filter you put on an Instagram post this morning. There's no faking out there, and so that scares a lot of people because their whole personality is built on what they have sculpted on purpose,
Yeah.
and that gets scraped off in a hurry out there. And then yeah, those relationships that you forge by surviving
Mm-hmm.
some rough situations, from struggling through it together, you can't get that deep just by drinking beers at the bar with
Exactly.
some guy made you laugh a couple of times. Like it's, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, and I've got a few buddies like that where it's just you have an understanding together of
Yeah.
those times and that appreciation for it. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Dude, you're making me want to share the mountain with you. We need to plan a hunt in BC and go hunt something together.
Man, come on up. It's fun. It's like, yeah, there's everything that you want to hunt up here. I'm no good at hunting them, but come on up and do it.
You know what? It doesn't even matter if we're successful. We'll have fun.
Yeah, man, it's great. It's just, yeah, all around here is good. And then, yeah, hooking up with Alpha Dog, I've gone up, and that's who I was with. I got that bear last spring, and those guys just like you grew up with it. I learned so much just sitting in the back seat,
Yeah,
driving around with those guys. Like just the stuff that it's so frustrating getting into it when you're in your late 30s, early 40s, because you watch these guys who just they're the stuff that they don't even realize that they're doing. Like they can't actually really teach me that because they don't even know that they're doing it anyway. You know, like they know exactly where to step. They know exactly what they're noticing. With their eyes just pick up stuff that have been trained for 50 years to pick up, right? And it's so that's what what I really love about it is that there's so much to learn, and when you're right at the start of something, that learning curve is so steep. You get to learn so much so fast, which has been awesome. So yeah, that's hooking up with Alpha Dog. It'd be fun to go up there and go chase a moose or something.
Dude, we'll have to do that. That would be so fun. But you know what? You're right though. You say that about hunting, but it'd be the same thing with knives. You know, like going back to you saying like you're talking about your ramblings while you're building a knife. You know, it's just what you do. You know, you've been doing it for so long that it's just second nature. But for a lot of us, it's going to be brand new, and it's going to be stuff that we're just going to be learning like crazy. But that's what's fun, man. I mean, that's what I'm so excited about. And you know, I think we should always be learning. We should always be growing and learning new skills. Because, I mean, at the end of this life, you know, like, yeah, money's great and whatnot. But the only thing that really matters at the end of this life is the relationships we build and the knowledge that we have. And so if we can increase those each and every day, whether it's learning how to hunt, learning how to build knives, going hunting, building knife, whatever the case may be, you know, that's what life is about. And that's what makes you feel successful. That's what makes you feel like you've done the things that you should do in this life, and it's meaningful to you. So yeah, I think that's exciting. And man, now you got me wanting to come up to BC and go hunting. We need to do a wolf hunt.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of that. When I was up looking for moose with Mike up there in the fall, we came across this one big black guy just down the road, and he booted off the road before we could get sights on him and stuff. But yeah, they're around, man. You should have seen the tracks we came across. Like we would get a fresh snow and go out, and the whole road, dude, like literally the full lane would just be wolf tracks.
No way.
Straight down this like huge packs. And I have a feeling that's probably why the moose numbers and the caribou numbers and stuff, the ungulates, are dwindling a little, because the last couple winters that we've had have been pretty low snowpack. So I think they're getting annihilated up there. But there's guys out there fighting back.
Yeah. It's on my bucket list, man. I'd love to go, you know, wolf hunting and just, you know, there's something different about chasing a predator. You know, that's why I'm excited to go hunting bear, you know, because chasing a predator is different than a prey animal, an ungulate. You know, it's very different. And then to be able to chase one of the most apex predators out there, a wolf, I mean, just to accomplish harvesting one of those, I think is a huge feat. Plus, they're beautiful, man. If you saw a black one, like how cool would that be to get a taxidermy on that thing? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, he was straight black. And they're, yeah, like you say, they're a remarkable animal. They're really cool. The hardest thing I would have, it would be a lot of mental gymnastics to get myself, because I mean, I've grown up with dogs. I love dogs. I own 3 dogs, you know, so getting that would be tough. But just working it out in your brain, knowing exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. Yeah, they need to be controlled. They're pulling black bears out of their dens and stuff because there's not enough snow covering them. And my buddies like Alpha Dog. They're running across bear carcasses in December, January out in the snow that have been pulled out of their dens and getting chewed up by wolves.
Whoa.
It's gnarly.
Whoa, that's wild. Holy smokes. Dude, they're ruthless. Wolves. I did a podcast with Tom with Stuck in the Rut, and he was talking about the wolves, and man, the things that they will do and the lengths that they'll go, and how smart they are too. Like, to be able to know that a bear is in there and they can go in there and drag that bear because it's hibernating, so probably easy meal if they can get into it. Like, for them to know that, unreal animals, man.
Yeah, when they don't have the snowpack to cover up that den, and maybe the thing kind of wandered out, had to take a leak, who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, I listened to that pod you did with Tom. It was amazing. The knowledge he's got on him is unbelievable. And yeah, they're a remarkable animal. Lamper's got one.
Yeah.
I was watching that video, and holy smokes, that big dog he got. Like, you don't know. Like, you see him down the road, you're like, oh man, look at that. That's a tall dog, man. Yeah, they do look big. And then you get up close and put your hands around that jaw and those paws, and holy smokes, they're a big dog.
When they wrap their arms around him and like hold him up, it's like you think it's a big dog, and then they hold it up, and it's a 6 foot plus man holding a dog that's still on the ground and is as high as them. It's like, goodness gracious, that's a beast.
Yeah, I think the only other one I've seen in the wild was when I was driving from here east towards Banff, Jasper area, and just up on the bank off the highway was this massive gray mound standing there, and I looked over, I'm like, what the heck? And I looked closer, and I'm like, oh geez, that's a dog. Holy smokes. It was a big dude. So yeah, man. It'd be cool, and they for sure need to be controlled, so you're doing everybody a favor. And oh boy, that'd be a tough one for me.
I guess I'm kind of used to it a little bit because we do a lot of coyote calling down here. So I do a lot of hunting of dogs, which coyotes really need to be managed. I mean, if you don't manage them, they will just go rampant and just be everywhere. So we do hunt a lot of dogs down here. But I get what you're saying. Like, it is different, especially as a dog owner. And I have a dog, if that's what you call him. I don't know if I call him a dog. He's an itty bitty little golden doodle thing, but no, he's a great dog. But it's different when when you shoot a dog, you're like, okay, this could be a pet kind of a thing. So I get where you're coming from on that.
Yeah, you just look at that face and you just see your pet in him. But unless he's standing over somebody's something, I guess. Yeah, I think once you get one down, and that'd probably break the seal on them. Mike was telling me too. He's like, dude, I've been on the road in front of a row of trees, and there's a pack there, and he's like, I let out one howl, and they're coming through. Like, he can call them in real good. Mm-hmm. And I just had my bow in my hand. I was like, dude, let's maybe not today.
Yeah. No, I would want to have a gun.
I couldn't believe he was saying that he got 4 of them with his bow.
Yeah,
he only found the 3, but
yeah, he killed 4 of them. It's like, goodness gracious, who kills 1 with a bow, let alone 4, and stacks them on top of each other?
Right. I was like you, I was blown away at the start of that story, and he's like, just wait.
Yeah, he kept going. I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me, dude. This is getting better. Oh, so crazy. Oh, that's what's fun about hunting, though, man. It's always stories like that. There's always,
never know what's gonna happen out there. You never know, and something always happens. Like, it's never boring. Like,
so
maybe
fun.
If you're sitting in a tree stand all day, but something always happens.
Yeah, I say that, and then I'm gonna go sit in a tree stand hunting bears and not see any bears for a day and just be bored playing Candy Crush all day on my phone or something like that. Oh shoot, dude. Well, I don't mean to keep you all day long, but I did want to kind of go back to 360 Sportsman. So, do you know when the course is going to be live? Do we have a date for that yet?
We're gonna film it in mid-late August, kind of time, and then that gives me some time to actually wrap my head around this thing. And then I think Taylor was saying he likes getting them out right away, so it could be a September 1st. Like, I think they dropped them. He wants them on the 1st, so it should be September 1st should be the when she comes out.
And can everybody already pre-register for it at this point?
I think so. We've got that pre-launch thing up where you can go and do the survey, and I think that has a waiting list component to it. I've kind of been familiarizing myself with the whole 360 Sportsman world there. I think that does get you on the wait list for it. I'm not sure if you can like register. I don't know if you have to buy it yet or anything like that, or if no, because we don't have a price figured out for it. So it must just be like a wait list thing. And then whatever the price ends up being, you'll get a discount if you go and fill out that survey and let me know how you want it to see or how you want it to look.
Yeah. I think it's cool. Like the cool thing about 360 Sportsman, and what I've been recommending everybody do is they have like that premium package that you can do, and you can get all the master classes. Like I keep telling people to do that because then you can have everything, like if I want to learn how to hunt wolves, I can learn how to hunt wolves. If I wanted to learn how to build knives, I can learn how to build knives, like everything is at your fingertips with that. So I've been encouraging everybody to do that. And I think you're right. I think right now it's like a waiting list or I can't remember what Taylor calls it. He's such a website guru, dude. He helps me with my website all the time. But it's something that he's calling it. But yeah, I think people can go and like, I don't know if it's pre-registering or wait list. I can't remember what it's called, but it's good to know.
You won't miss it anyways. If your email's in on the list, then yeah, you won't miss it. So that premium thing is cool because you not only get like everything that's already up there, but you get all the future ones that are coming out that aren't even a thought yet. Like you're in for life kind of deal, and the price of that's going to keep going up with the more master classes that come out. So getting in now, you could save yourself hundreds of dollars down the road. I got to see if Taylor wants to trade me a knife for a premium membership or something.
You should. I'll guarantee he would.
There's so much on there that I would love to do and learn. And yeah, it's I'm all about like improving yourself, right? So
yeah. Oh man, I think that would be so cool. And you said one of your posts you talked about like if they go and do the go and answer some questions or kind of tell you what they're looking for in the masterclass that you'll give them a discount on the knife. Are you part of the discounts in 360 Sportsman? Like if people, so say somebody buys the premium package because they want to learn how to wolf hunt and they get all those discounted prices. Are your knives in there as well?
I don't think I am yet. I should talk to about that. Make sure I get like an affiliate or something code, and then get a discount in there for the knives too. Yeah,
I think I should do that. I think people would love that. To get a little discount on your knives to be able to if they purchase that and be able to have a hookup there. I think would be huge. So yeah, well you have to talk to Taylor. If I remember, I'll tell him too. But I think that would be a really cool thing to have in there.
Yeah, it's one of those things on my list I've been meaning to get to.
Only about 1,000 things, right?
Yeah, it's busy. And my wife's got me renovating her office right now too.
Oh. And then Taryn's got you on a podcast, so that just taking up all your time.
And I've been looking forward to this. These are fun for me. I live in my shop by myself all the time, so getting to come and do this, these are fun. So yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity, buddy. This has been fun.
This is fun. I couldn't agree more. This has been so much fun getting to know you a little bit, and it's been fun following along. And I'm like I said, I'm so stoked about your masterclass that's coming out. And I hope you don't think this is the only one we're gonna do, man. I think when the masterclass comes out, maybe September sometime, we gotta hop back on, and that way we know more of the details around what the class looks like, and we can talk more detail. Would you be down to doing that?
Oh, of course. I'm always down for these things. I love these things. Yeah, it's fun.
Sweet.
Just sit here and talk about what I do instead of actually having to do it. That's great.
Well, we get to talk a little bit about hunting and everything else in between. So that's what I love about these podcasts, just being able to chat and get to know people and just talk about cool crap, it's just so freaking fun. So, well, man,
my bear story is kind of a fun one, so we should get into that sometime. It was pretty fun.
Yeah,
it was a little bit wild.
You got time? I'd love to hear it if you got time.
If I can go and grab my charger, and I forgot to grab my charger for my computer, it's about to die. But if I can go do that, we'll get into it if you want.
Dude, let's do it. I'd love to hear it.
Oh yeah, all right. I'll be right back. Let's pause for a second.
Sweet. Dude, I love that. See, this is what I love, man. I love when it's just absolutely informal, genuine, just a conversation, and I feel like people love this. This is what people want to hear. So no, I'm totally down for this. If you now that you got a charger.
Man, the worst is when you can tell someone just has a lot of questions in front of them and they don't even sound like they're like listening to the answers or just moving on.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, these are way better. that genuine, like I say, sitting around the fire, drinking a beer, just telling stories. Yeah, I hear you.
That's how I started out these podcasts. Is I kind of like a lot of them. My early podcasts were I wrote down questions to ask people because I thought that's what they wanted. Like they'd want me to send the questions beforehand so they could kind of prepare. And man, it wasn't very long into it. Then I realized that's not what people want to hear, man. People want to hear genuine, off the cuff conversations. You know, that stories like this. I'm so excited to hear this story because this is what people are gonna love. So when did you do this bear hunt? Was it last year you said?
This was late May, early June last year. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And this was your first bear hunt, you said?
This was my first, the first, my first bear. Well, actually, I had actually been out on a bear hunt with a buddy years before. I went kind of as like he was trying to film and stuff. And so I kind of just went as like a second camera.
Oh, gotcha.
And I don't even think I had a rifle or anything with me. I was just like hanging, like coming along for the fun, right? Like we camped right on the side of Lake Revelstoke, like gorgeous,
nice
in the forest, having fun. It was awesome. So, but that was my first experience with it, and then, but this was the first time I actually went out looking for something. Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, yeah, tell me let's get into this story because I want to hear about it. I mean, honestly, this is very selfish of me because dude, bear is all that's on my mind right now. It's the only thing I can think about because obviously, you know, I'm going bear hunting as you heard. So I'm super stoked. So yeah, let's get into this. Tell us the story.
So in BC you can't bait, so it's all spot and stock. So but yeah, like we were talking about, bear hunting is just casual. You're out really, I mean, you can hike around, you can try and go deep if that's kind of like the experience you're looking for, of course. Or you can do what we were doing and just driving around old logging roads, which is fun anyways, really just exploring roads and stuff. And so we've been doing this for a couple of days. I'd gone up to Fort St. James where Alpha Dog is, and I was just hanging out with Sean, and he had his wife's cousin was there, Travis from Ontario, and he's this 20-year-old kid, but he is like the dream 20-year-old kid. Like he doesn't have TikTok. He just wants to hunt and fish. Like
attaboy.
Awesome dude, right?
Attaboy.
Didn't say a word sitting in the back seat, you know. He's hanging, he's just around having fun and just soaking this all up to. And so we were just out driving around and looking for bears. And because I'd never hunted them, our plan was like, hey, well, let's find a couple. We'll do some practice stalks and just kind of have some fun with a couple of smaller bears and kind of get the vibe. And, you know, I was trying to sneak up on them because I have my bow too. Mm-hmm. So we're going to need to get close anyways.
Yeah.
And, you know, coming in, like I'm good with my bow. I'd actually only been shooting for a couple years at this point. But I mean, I'll softball from 70 all day or whatever. And,
nice.
So I made sure that I was like confident at 60, no problem. I even have a bear 3D target in my yard that I was shooting at for, you know, nonstop to get ready for this. So, I'm like, dude, I'm dialed at 60. So let's get to 40. You know what I mean? And so we're just doing that. We'd seen a few bears here and there, just kind of off the road, and nothing they'd all spooked off just from the truck or whatever. But we weren't stressed about it. We had a lot of days, and then late on this one day, we're just like kind of over it. And now before we go back for dinner, let's just drive down. There used to be a really cool viewpoint down this road over this big lake. Let's go down and check that out. So we're just cruising down and come around a corner. We weren't even paying attention, but Sean luckily was. He hits the brakes and throws the thing in reverse, and we back up. What was that? It's like, there's a bear. Like, oh, okay. And so we jump out, and I threw on my moccasins because he told me coming up, he's like, get some soft-soled like slippers or something.
Yeah.
These gravel roads are noisy to walk on, and you knew like if we're probably gonna be walking on some roads, stalking in on these things, because that's all they're doing. Like the bears are really just traveling the roads, feeding on the sides on all the fresh greenery, right? It's coming up in the spring. So we threw on our moccasins, and we start creeping around the corner, and sure enough, there's this giant bear, like, I don't know, a couple hundred yards down this straight stretch, and he disappears around this curve. like, we can't really see from here. Let's just keep going. So we sneak up and we come around the next curve. And sure enough, he's going around the next bend. So we keep sneaking up. And each time we're kind of gaining like 20, 30 yards kind of thing. And then we come around this corner to where there's a pretty good straight stretch that kind of goes down a hill. And so we're like slowly, and he's moving. He's like pausing to eat once in a while, but he's not stopping. Like he just keeps moving. And I thought like this thing's gonna find like a patch of clover and sit down for a minute, right?
Right.
But no, he was just munch, cross the road, munch, keeps walking. So we slowly gain, and I keep trying to range him, and it's like 120, and and at one point Sean stops and he says something to me, and I couldn't really tell what he was saying, but what he said was he's a toad. Which I wouldn't have even known what that meant anyways. But apparently it was a big bear.
Yeah, that means he's huge.
Yeah, so I mean, like I had no idea what it even said, and I wouldn't have even known what that meant. But we end up keep following, and as we kind of crest and come over the hill of this road, and he's still kind of working ahead of us. There's a tree down, this like mature alder or mature like cottonwood sort of thing had fallen over. So I thought, cool, okay, that's gonna slow him down for a second. I can actually gain a little. And by then we're at like still like 80 or whatever. So we're creeping in really slow. It was really fun following Sean, watching him like just learning how to stalk in on a bear, when to move and when not to, and all this stuff. And then we get up close. He's like, knock an arrow. So okay, knock an arrow. I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, that's still a ways, dude. But we keep going. Bear gets to the tree, and sure enough stops, and he starts kind of like grazing on the leaves were still green on this thing.
Yeah.
So we get up a little farther, and he starts ranging him, and he whispers to me, he goes, he's 43. And I'm like, oh, I did 40. That's 43 is pretty close.
Yep.
And I got a HHA Rise dial.
Yeah.
It's a 2-pin slider.
Uh-huh.
And so I dialed a 43. I'm like, sweet. Okay. This is just like back home. And then I go to draw, and he goes, no, he's 48. And I was like, oh, okay. And so then in the moment, I'm just like, move the thing to 48.
Yeah.
No big deal. But then when I do, I'm looking at it, I'm like, boy, 50's right there. That's now we're reaching out a little bit, right? And but okay. And so I draw back, and I was feeling good. I don't remember any shaking, any like what do they call it? Like buck fever?
Yeah, buck fever.
Like
when you start shaking. I call it a woodpecker because your arrow's bouncing on your rest so bad, so it's like tick 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 tick.
Right. No, it was just like standing in my driveway looking at my target. Like it was, I just went into that sequence, into the routine, muscle memory, drew back. He was broadside, and then as I'm drawing back, he turns away from us, and I'm thinking, shoot, he's gonna go over this tree, and then he's gone. We're not catching up again.
Yeah.
And so I took my finger off the tree. I got a thumb release. Took my finger off, but I'm still at full draw, and I'm just looking at him, and sure enough, he turns back broadside, and he's even facing the direction that my target in my yard faces.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it was just like, that's just my target, right?
Yeah.
It didn't even look like it had fur. As soon as he turned, thumb was back on the trigger, and the thing just broke. Like it felt so good. Man. That was the loudest arrow I've ever heard in my life. And it took a minute and a half to get there, dude. Like it was, I had a Luminoc on, and it was just
slow motion.
Yeah, it was crazy, but broke perfect. And in that minute and a half it took to get there, everything was like, I can't take this back. It's gone now.
Yep.
Like this is the first thing I'd ever shot with my bow that wasn't foam. This is the first big game animal I'd ever shot at with a rifle or a bow or anything, right? Like it was just, this is the moment right now. Now it's real. That thing's in the air. You can't get that back. And so there was a lot going through my head during that arrow flight. And when he turned broadside again, started walking to get around this tree. So as soon as he turned, he's moving. And I mean, the time it takes an arrow, even at 280 feet a second, to go 48 yards is long enough.
Yeah.
He moved. And I think I think it was partially him moving, and also I don't know if my broadheads were totally tuned perfect. I think I was hitting slightly left at 30, so at 48 I was never planning to shoot 48, so maybe that bumped my arrow left a little bit too, but it ended up being a terrible shot. It hit not even guts. It passed guts and hit farther back.
Oh,
than
wow.
Guts. It went like through like his hips.
Oh, yeah.
So I got real fortunate on this. Like, the height was perfect. I was really happy with it. The elevation was deadly. Like, it was exactly where I aimed. It was just like a foot and a half left. But I try and blame it on him moving too, or I don't know.
Oh, that's archery though.
Pretty
oh, that's archery. It does it.
But it ends up, so it hits real far back. It's got the luminox, so we're watching him take off into the forest. But Sean's on the binoculars and he's watching him. And as my heart is breaking, Sean's like, I see him pumping blood. Like, I saw gushes coming out of that hole. So it's like, oh man, we hear him crash through the bush. We realize we don't have a firearm on us. And like, we got to get out of here. Yeah. Like, this isn't good. Like, he's right there off the road. So we get out of there. Sean was really smart. We went for a drive for an hour. We're like, let's just back off this thing. We drove around for an hour. It was a very quiet truck ride. I was just going through the whole thing in my head, like, this nightmare, right? Like a bad shot. Now I've wounded this thing. Now I'm putting my friends in the position where they got to go chase a wounded bear through the thick forest of northern British Columbia. Like, you could be standing beside them and miss them, kind of thing, right? So we come back after an hour. It's started to rain, of course, but we found some mud, and we walk into the forest, into the canopy, and dude, it's like someone took a can of red paint and is just dumping like there's blood everywhere. And these guys are experienced bear hunters, and they're both like, dude, bears don't bleed like this. Like,
they don't.
Something happened. So we end up blood trailing them for about a kilometer, which is like a little under a mile, straight up this hill. Like, he just went straight up for almost a mile. Like, we got to the point where we were like finding a drop, finding some crushed brush, finding another drop. Like, we were getting like deep, and it got to a point where we were out of blood drops. It's been raining. Sean's like, dude, I'm gonna walk 40 yards straight up. If I don't see him, sorry, dude, he might be gone. And I never found my arrow or anything. Sean goes hiking up. Travis and I are still looking for drops of blood, and then you just hear boom, and I look up, and Sean's going, get up here. This bear comes out of this bush. He just saw fur and shot fur behind this bush. The thing comes ripping out of this bush right past him, goes up this huge old rotten fir tree right beside him.
Oh my
Straight up about 10-15 feet. Sean's going, get up here. He wants me to finish him.
Yeah, right? Shoot him with another arrow.
With an arrow. Yeah, right. Like, there's no way I could put an arrow in that. But I'm huffing up the hill. I'm trying to knock an arrow. The thing falls out of the tree, crashes on the ground right beside Sean, rolls down the hill, and piles up against another fir tree right beside me. Like, 8-10 feet, like right there. And I'm like, oh crap, what? He's right there. And I'm like, I think my sight was still probably dialed to 48 at the time. Like, I would have sailed this arrow.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way I would even hit him if I even tried, right? But luckily, Sean, he had it must have been a 30-06, I think, and boom, he lets off another one in front, like right there, because he's like, thing's about to jump on Mike.
Yeah.
Right? So his responsibility is make sure that
save you guys. Yeah.
And then, dude, the groan, like you and Joe were talking about.
Yeah, that death moan.
Nobody told me about the death groan.
Yep.
Like, it was the worst sound I've ever heard in my life. Like, I had no idea that was coming out of that guy. And instantly I was just like, oh no. Like, it hurt so bad. They were really good. They were like, no, they all do this.
That's what they do.
It's fine.
Yep.
That the next morning we were sleeping in a tent, and Travis rolled over first thing in the morning and made the exact same noise, just like as his like waking up noise in the morning. He just rolled over like, I'm like, dude, he's come back to get us.
Oh my gosh.
So luckily he put him to him, and Sean was like, I'm so sorry, Mike. I'm so sorry I had it. And I'm like, dude, I'm so glad you did that.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way I could have, like, I'm so glad. And so it all worked out real good. We didn't have packs on us. Like, we just figured, because when we got out of the truck, he's like, he's either 100 yards into the woods or he's gone.
Right.
So we're not going to have to go far. We didn't think we were going to be a mile up this hill. So we didn't even have packs. I think like we had a knife on a bino harness kind of deal. So we gutted them, spread them out, covered them in limbs, because it was getting late too. And it's raining and it's getting dark. Like, we got to come back for them in the morning. So luckily we were able to do that. And then we packed them out the next day, and it was all good, but it was, it was an early experience, man.
So, okay. So your arrow, after you got them all skinned out, so what did your arrow do? Like, how was it pumping that much blood if it was that far back? Did it hit an artery back there or something?
Right. So it was pumping out of the one side, and then halfway through the blood trail, you could tell it was coming out of both sides. So it worked its way through him somehow. It cut both femoral arteries through his, like, basically through his crotch, like through his hips, right through there. Like the luckiest shot you could ever make on an animal like that. Like, it was,
man,
I should not have recovered that animal.
It's a deadly shot though. Dude, if you can hit him there, I did that on a deer one time. I hit him back there on basically in the hips, like you're saying, like almost right through the crotch, because it kind of turned when almost sounds like a very similar situation. But yeah, I cut the femoral artery, bled like crazy. And deer, when you shoot them with a bow, a lot of times they won't go quite as far. I mean, that's crazy that bear went that far. That is unreal to me. That's a tough freaking bear. Anyways, that's a kill shot, dude. That's a great way to get him to bleed out. And I mean, that's what you want to do with a bow, is get that blood coming out. So man, it may have been a lucky shot, but it's a great shot.
Yeah, I would have felt good about it if I had been meaning to hit him. It's a really small target to hit.
Yeah.
Femoral artery.
Yeah, but Mike, honestly, that's archery. I mean, because like you said, that it felt like a minute and a half that arrow was in the air, right? And honestly, with an arrow, it is in the air for a long time. A lot of things can happen in that time frame, and even just one little movement, turning a little bit, can move it by a foot. So that's how it goes. You should be proud of that shot. That's pretty impressive to be able to do that, especially at 50 yards.
Yeah, no, I came home, and like for the next 3 days, I stood at 48 on my bear target and just like tore fleshings on my arrows, putting them in there, like perfect, right on the dot. Like, I don't know what happened, man. But yeah, it takes a while for that thing to get there, and like you're saying, that thing moves. So I was stoked on the elevation. It was perfect elevation. Like his range was perfect. So that was nice.
Isn't it cool when you're in that moment too? Like how you were saying, like that it just muscle memory. You've been doing it so much. I've talked to so many people about that right there. Like, get that muscle memory, shoot every day, shoot as much as you can. And Joe Rogan talks about it, and Cam Hanes talks about it. Like, be out there every day because of that reason right there. Like, that way, when you're in that moment, buck fever is probably kind of coming. You may have gotten it after you shot. You probably, when you got back in the truck, you might have got that adrenaline rush going. You might have shook a little bit, but when you're in that moment,
I was just sad about making that shot.
that's okay too. I totally get that. But kudos to you, man, for being able to make that shot, be in that moment, and be able to take that shot and chasing it for as long as you did too. Like, that's pretty dang impressive that you're able to chase him for that long, get that shot off, hit him, find him. Oh, what a cool. I was getting chills the whole time you were telling that story, dude. I'm so excited right now.
Oh man, it was the gauntlet. Like, I got to learn about stalking and like chasing him down that road, because there's no cover. Like, those roads are wide open and long and straight, and the only time you get a chance is if he goes around a corner. So that was cool. And then getting to learn blood trailing, which I guess doesn't happen a lot with a bear, because they clawed up so fast, and that fur is so thick. Yeah. And he's a gorgeous bear too. He was big and old. He was 6'6", nose to tail, and about 6 foot squared out. So He's a good sized black bear, and he was like, he has some nice auburn in him as well. Like
Uh-huh.
he's got a really nice color to him, and his teeth were actually in fairly good shape. So I got the skull. Got the guy to clean up the skull for me too. So that's going to
Nice.
be nice to get back.
Did he have the nice
Yeah, I can't
brown
wait.
snout on him too? Was his snout really brown, or what did that look like on him?
Big square stovepipe, like the classic big old bear with
Big old
the,
black
you know,
bear.
the shelf of a forehead kind of
Yeah.
thing. And
Oh,
yeah,
what a cool. That's so freaking cool. They say, well, you heard it on Joe's podcast, but Joe said as soon as you shoot a bear, like it's almost like a drug. Like you just gotta there's something about it that drives you to do it again and do it again. It's just something that you always want to do. So, oh man, that's so exciting. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait.
they're such a cool animal. Like so much about it is it's definitely, I can see now why they were trying to talk me into it for my first hunt,
Yeah.
because it is pretty casual. There's lots of opportunity, especially for a rifle, because you know they don't even know you're anywhere in the neighborhood as long as you got the wind.
Hmm.
Um, and they're a big target. Like there's a lot of room there to hit. Like
Yeah.
not like a deer or something where it's a pretty slim animal. There's lots of room to sink something in. Um, yeah, it was an experience. But then the meat, like, man, I was so iffy on if we should eat the meat and
Yeah.
stuff. And but yeah, like Joe was saying, we usually just we keep the big chunks for roasts and
Uh-huh.
just do slow cooker. You wouldn't know that it's delicious. We just do
Really?
beef dip or just like a big roast in the slow cooker. And just
Uh-huh.
like pork, you just got to make sure you cook it enough, and then
Yeah.
all the trim went to like pepperoni and that sort of stuff, and
Oh
that
man.
turned out awesome. The
Yeah.
local guy, he throws a little bit of pork in there to get some fat in, and
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's delicious.
Oh man, that's what a lot of people don't eat it, but and that's why I had to ask Joe that question. It's like, you know what? Because I really want to bring it home and eat it. And my buddy, I think he doesn't want it, so I'm gonna see if I can get his too and bring it home. I love wild game meat. I really don't care what it is. If I can either slow cook it or smoke it or something and make it taste really good. So yeah, I'm excited. What did your bear like? What do they eat up there? Do they eat a lot of fish or what are they eating up there?
Not where we were. It's all just like berries in the fall and stuff, but
Okay,
in all through the spring, it's all just wherever they can
grass
find all
and
the,
stuff
yeah,
like that.
grass and clover and dandelions. They love dandelions and that sort of thing. And
Gotcha.
yeah, it's good to, I think you're going kind of late May
Yeah.
into June kind of time period. Yeah, because they need a little bit of time in the spring to kind of flush all the crap out from the hibernation.
Oh, yeah, that
I was
makes
learning
sense.
this too, like when you're out, like these guys will be going out spring, they'll be finding like the scat, and it's just this black nastiness.
Yeah.
And then once you start noticing it turn into like the rose hip,
Uh-huh.
or I guess rose hip's more in the fall. The fall scat is crazy. It's just a pile of bright orange. It's
Yeah.
it's wild. But yeah, once you start seeing more like the seeds and sort of that sort of scat coming out, then you know you're good to go to hunt them, because they flush all the crap out of them.
Interesting. That is so See, this is stuff. This is why I love this right here because I had no idea about that. So I'm learning so much, about everything, and that's what's so cool about hunting is there's always just something to learn. So, oh man, that is
Just following these guys around, like I was when we
yeah,
were looking for moose in the fall. Like you learn so much. Like
yeah,
Mike was showing me about like what a moose rub looks like, how
mm-hmm,
they'll like scrape up a sapling real good, but then they snap the top
yep,
off, and they'll do it like a couple of them down the road. And then we got a bit of a piece of property here, and we were running the dogs down where we always go, and we're kind of walking through some brush, and I noticed one of these saplings, it was an old moose rub, and it had the top snapped off. And I'm like, oh man, Mike was
that,
telling me to start talking to my wife about it, and I'm showing her like this is what they
yeah.
do. I'm like, oh, and there's usually another one. I look over and like 10 yards over, there's another one, and then
Yep.
another one. I'm like, holy smokes, this is a rut line right here. You don't know to even
Right.
look for that or even recognize that sort of stuff. It's so cool,
Ah,
just that sort of stuff that you get to learn.
and it's so intriguing too, like how every animal, is so different and how they react in different situations and just their normal way of life and how they live their life. It's, we kind of went back to talking about like how, how we respect these animals and like how Joe, like he loves bears, but it's also the one that he hunts most. This is it right here because it's so amazing how much you can learn about them and what they do and how they interact with each other and how they interact with other animals and with humans. And yeah, it is fascinating. I always tell people I should have been a wildlife biologist because I'm fascinated by animals and what they do, because every single one is so unique.
It's a whole different world out there. It's unbelievable. Like, I couldn't believe how slow moose are.
Yeah.
When they aren't getting scared off by something, dude. It's infuriating when you're waiting for one of them to come.
But then how fast they can move too.
Still and not move for 10 minutes. It's crazy.
It really sucks when you're sitting there, getting ready to shoot one with a bow, and they'll stand there for 10 minutes and look in the same direction. I haven't done it with a moose, but with elk, they'll sit there and stare at you for 10 minutes, and you're just trying to hold still as still as you can, and your body's getting sore, and you're starting to, like, your stomach's growling, and you're just like stuck right there and you can't move. It's crazy how they can do it, but it's also crazy how fast a moose can run. When a moose wants to run, look out, man. They can cover some ground.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's a big animal and it gets going. But yeah, we're staring at these two bulls about 1,000 yards across this valley one time. And we're just like, turn your head. Yeah. I need to see your paddles. Just like, you're just getting, like, your eyes are getting sore just staring through your binos. Like, turn your damn head. It just stands still forever.
Oh, it's unreal. But it's so cool. It's so cool that they can do that, and it's so cool that we get to be involved in that too. Like, how cool, man. Hey, when do you get your when will you get your rug back from your bear?
Oh, yeah. It's got to be the next couple of months. He was quoting me about a year out.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're still a little bit out. As I say, usually, that's usually what it is, about a year. So I was like, man, you might be getting it back here pretty soon. So you'll have to shoot me over a picture of it when you get it.
More pumped than I am for it.
Yeah, you'll have to send me a picture of it when you get it back, because that's cool, man.
Yeah, for sure. I can't wait. I'll have to put it up on the wall or something so my dogs don't tear it apart.
Yeah, I've got a good spot for mine right here on this wall over here. That's what I'm going to do too, is do a rug with it. So, and I'm going to put it up on the wall. Hopefully, we'll see how it goes. But oh, man. Well, Mike, dude, I appreciate you coming on and chatting with me. This has been so freaking fun. You're a cool dude and a lot of fun to talk to. And I'm glad that you're getting into this hunting thing. Glad you're getting into 360 and all that stuff, man. I'm excited to see where it goes from here. But before I let you go, dude, just for those listening, how do people get in touch with you? How do people follow along with everything Mike Jones?
Yeah, it's all just Mike Jones Knife and Tool. Instagram. There's some videos on YouTube that I haven't updated in way too long, and Facebook and all the socials. It's all Mike Jones Knife and Tool. Easy to find. And get on 360. And that's the other cool thing about that is getting access to all of us, all the instructors on there, for having questions, and could you like go into more detail about this sort of thing, and being able to reach out and chat with us. That's going to be a super cool part of that. So check out 360 Sportsman. I'm on there and fill out my survey so I know how to form this course so that people want to watch it. And man, and right back at you. Thanks for the chat, dude. It's been super fun hanging out for the afternoon, and I can't wait to hear about your adventures in northern Saskatchewan, and hopefully you get there before the mosquitoes do. But come on up to BC sometime and let's hang out.
Dude, I don't know if I have your phone number. I'm gonna shoot you over my phone number in our chat so that we have each other's number. That way we can stay in touch. And I'll let you know how the hunting goes in Saskatchewan. And we'll talk more, and let's get another podcast on the books, because I'd love to talk to you as the class starts to come out, and just catch up on all things you, if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely, man. These are super fun. Like I say, this is better than work. So.
Well, I'll let you get back to work so you can make some knives and make some money. But man, sure appreciate your time, buddy.
Hey, you too.
All right,
this was fun. Thanks.
We'll talk to you later.